it is phenomenal what you guys have achieved.
We started in Cape Town as a one-off event with no business plan.
We were like, what are the 5 things that we both believe in and agree on and that will guide us in our decision making?
And 3 months later, Future Females was born.
Yay! Hello, 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 everybody. This show has been created to inspire you to take action,
Celebrating and reframing what success looks like.
to be the best version of ourselves that we can be.
And we have incredible speakers for you tonight.
Hello and welcome to the Future Females Show. I'm Susanna Kennedy and I am super excited and proud to have the founders of Future Females here with me tonight, Lauren Dallas and Cerina Bezuidenhout. Woo! The Future Females Show has been created to reframe what success is to women, for women. It asks us to celebrate, it asks us to inspire and step up and take action to be the best version of ourselves that we can be by telling stories, by sharing stories of inspirational women who have broken the glass ceiling, either within their own industry or within another industry that is dominated, sorry guys, but by men. And we want more women in positions of power. We want women that feel financially empowered, emotionally empowered, and spiritually empowered, and mentally empowered, and just full-on empowered. So when I met Lauren, and I didn't meet Cerina for some time afterwards, but I knew immediately that she was a powerhouse, kick-ass girl boss that was somebody I wanted in my corner. I wanted to know, I wanted to grow with, I wanted to celebrate with. She was speaking at an event. I was there as well, and it was completely male-dominated. I think that Lauren was one of the only other, female speakers there, and it was so wonderful to see this young, dynamic, blonde bombshell just kicking ass and owning it on stage. It was amazing. And then I found out who she was. The co-founder of a company that was created to inspire other women, to help other women succeed. And I was like, okay, soul buddy, just found. And then I found out more about it, and fast forward 4.5 years later, almost 5 years later, and the success that these two women have created is just profound. It has broken glass ceilings right, left, and center. And I was lucky enough to then meet lovely Cerina, who is the perfect complement to Lauren. She brings just the most wonderful, different, completely different dynamic to the party, and I can't actually think of a better pair to work together and build something that is so beautiful and so inspiring as a business. Cerina is soul. She is literally soul food. If any of you have had the privilege of having a conversation with her, she brings soul, but she's also strategic and wise and makes decisions that need to be made with conviction. And it's been amazing getting to know you as well. I think we need to let you guys introduce yourselves. But it can be like a really super quick introduction, but just a little bit about like what led you to getting to Future Females and starting the business and where you are now.
It's such an interesting question for me, because we can have like the same introduction always. You can kind of go like, okay, this is who I am, but do like the same spiel always. And sometimes I wonder, should I consider how I introduce myself? Is this, who's the audience, and like, what do they need to know about me? What I want you to know, because maybe there's something that you need to know that's relatable. So here's what I'm going to share, because I think there might be some of you that needs to hear this. I'm from Namibia, from a very small town, and I'm a food scientist by practice. why I'm sharing this with you is my career has been a very traditional career until about 4.5 years ago. No, actually now May is five years ago, where it changed 180 degrees when I met Lauren, actually when we met in the program, right? And I don't know how many of you have started your businesses already, or are in the in the phase of you have an idea and you need to take that leap. And I want to say that I was there. I literally am one of those people that had to make this move. And so from a food scientist in a factory in those white gear, I was one of those people that had to walk with a little notebook because Lauren and the rest of my associates were just like using tech terms and investment terms and entrepreneurial terms. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I couldn't, I felt like such a scam. So I would write down all of these abbreviations or words or whatever, and in the evening I would just go and learn that, right? And so the learning curve was hard, and I want to say to those of you who's going to make that jump or who's in it right now in the early stages, it probably is hard, and just believe in yourself. You're going to do great.
So I love that you shared that, because I think that everybody experiences imposter syndrome. And I think that's one of the real things that a lot of people don't talk about enough. And you guys all went, yeah, as I said that, right? Because it's true. So many of us are put in these positions and we think, what the hell am I doing here? How did I get here and how am I going to cope? And are they going to find me out? And actually, can you all put your hands up, whoever has experienced that? Because, okay, so for those of you watching the recorded version of this, every single person in the audience put their hand up. And it just proves that you're not alone. And that's why I get people to do these embarrassing things, because I want you to know that you're not alone. And so I really appreciate that you shared that, Cerina. And it just speaks to your value as a human being, knowing that people need to know these things and being vulnerable enough and brave enough to share them. So thank you very, very much.
I think I can actually introduce myself in that context.
Yay!
And I'll keep it fairly brief. But, I always grew up in a very high achievement context. For me, winning, being number one, being the youngest to do something and being recognized as that was really what drove me. I remember I rang my mom a while ago and I was like, do you know what my IQ is? And, if you've ever done an IQ test, it doesn't really change. So you only need to do it once. And she's like, oh, yes, of course I know what it is. She's like, you've actually done 8 or 9 IQ tests. And I was like, why did I do so many? She's like, I just had to keep checking that you were still smart. And I was like, wow, this explains a lot. So that's what I grew up surrounded by, and I really brought that into my corporate life. I've worked at many different corporations, from eBay to Groupon to management consulting, but entrepreneurship really is my passion. And I started many businesses, some for the wrong reasons, some just because I thought it was fun, and some because an idea popped into my head, and 5 minutes later I was building a website because that's what I love doing, and that's Cerina keeps me in check. But I think that it was that when I moved to South Africa just over 5 years ago, and I was starting a business, and I knew I wanted to help entrepreneurs. That's what eBay, my very first job, that's actually what I did there, and I never wanted to leave that. So I was sitting in an apartment in Woodstock. I was tethered to the internet from the building next door, stealing it to start my business. And I realized I couldn't help entrepreneurs in this country if I didn't even know one. And that's when I started working for an accelerator, and I met Cerina. And 3 months later, Future Females was born.
Yay! So usually I would ask this question at the end, but I actually want to ask it now. Future Females is such a phenomenal organization. It's not just a business, it's an organization, it's a community. It is a way of living. And you guys have achieved fucking amazing results. I'm sorry, but it is phenomenal what you guys have achieved. And I would like you to brag a little bit, please, because I want you to celebrate yourselves. Like, just share the achievements. How many countries you guys are in, how many people are in your community, how many lives you guys have actually changed. Because I think this really sets up the premise for what comes next. Like, why should people listen to you? I mean, I know why, you guys know why, but somebody who's just watching you guys for the first time, I think that this would really set that up. So please brag.
I think I'm probably more comfortable than Cerina in the bragging stakes, but I will share because we started in Cape Town as a one-off event with no business plan. I dreamt the name in my sleep, and next minute we were hosting the Future Females launch. And we had no idea how it was going to go. We just knew we wanted to find other women like us who were building businesses. And from that first event where we had, 80 people in the room, about 500 tuning in online, we've grown. So Future Females is in 55 cities now around the world, where our ambassadors host an event every single month. We have just over 100,000 now, which we need to celebrate still, members in our community. And we have graduated from our main program, which is a 3-month accelerator, over 2,300 female entrepreneurs, or as we think, businesses that Future Females has helped to lift up.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that phenomenal? Yeah. Hell yeah!
And I'm just going to steal the words out of Cerina's mouth, because obviously they're the stats. And 2 nights ago, we were standing in our kitchen singing actually Desiree songs on my laptop, karaoke in our kitchen. And that for us is really what we celebrate. It is moments like that, but also our team. So I just want to shout out to the team that is here, and to Sasha in particular, who was at our launch event and volunteered with us for a year and is still here now running our accelerator across all of those countries. So we love you.
Amazing. So in this incredible accelerated process, because you've really built Future Females in 5 years, that's the truth, what would be, and I'm going to ask each of you, and I'm going to start with you, Cerina, I hope that's good, what would be the piece of advice, the thing that you would want to share with female entrepreneurs who want to take a passion project and just see it grow? What would be the thing that you would most want to share with them?
It sounds like I'm only allowed to say one now, if I listen to you. And everyone else had 5, and now we're like 2. So there's maybe 2 that I do want to share. One, I'm from an operations background, and so I also feel like the operations role in our company. And so something that I learned in the beginning, and I'm reminded of it, was in the beginning, me as an operations, you think about systems and processes and all of these things that you want to put in place, but you're kind of like holding the company back. If it's like it has to go through all of these approvals, and like this has to be right, and like no, step and step and step. And it was like, it was hurtful and painful to go like, okay, just run with it. But it really is necessary. And I think for every one of you who might be like the version of me, I want to say to you, actually it was so important in the beginning, in the early stages of your company, to maybe drop that need for processes and systems and all of these other things that's really great for your business, but to do the marketing and the sales, because that's really what you need in the beginning. You need the customers, and you need the money so that you can grow, okay? So just if you're like me, I want to say be like her. Okay?
No. That is horrendous advice.
This is why this is a good balance, guys, because you can see how she's going, be like her. No, be like her.
My advice is like systems, operations.
But do you want to add to that?
I mean, I actually can. I think, I've started 5 businesses, and this is the most successful, and I really do put that success down largely to Cerina, who constantly undersells herself. But if you are a marketing or a salesperson, that's fine, and that will take you the start of the way. You can get the first sales, you can look after the first customers, but to truly build something scalable, you have to have those processes and systems in place. I mean, something some of you might not know is that Cerina operationally left the company after a year and has obviously come back, which I'm very grateful for, but during that time, I really learned to appreciate the value of the operations side, because everything just got messy and things were 95% done. And I was remembering how to do things and coaching the team live every single day. So I think my advice would definitely be, you can take it down and operate lean, but if you're repeating anything, then document it, put it into a process, try and automate it. And a concept that we live by in our business is like, buy back your own time. Because most of you are entrepreneurs, you'll know, like, oh my God, there are so many things to do. I haven't gotten to the bottom of my list in 5 years. And it's sometimes it's very stressful, but I think one of the principles that's really helped me is, how do I buy back that time? Because I've done that before, or someone else can do that.
Yeah.
If I'm allowed another one.
Yes, you can have another one, Cerina.
I also, this might not apply to most of you, because either you are, still in corporate and you're jumping, or you're like early stage and you don't have a team yet. But something that's it's actually the thing that's probably most important for me in our company, is like, is our team okay? Because I believe that if our team is okay, they will be delivering the work in such a good way. They are living our values. They're living our vision. So if our team is okay, we only care about that, actually, and then they will do it. So that's really one of the things that, starting but also scaling is most important for me. Yeah.
I think that's really brilliant advice, and I so want to speak to you guys for hours, because I think there's so much more, but I am aware of time. So I would love to know, Lauren, if you could attribute your success to one thing, like one thing. I know I'm totally going rogue, but I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask you as well, so you can think about it while I ask Lauren. But if you can attribute your success to one thing, what would it be?
Not stopping, just never stopping. Everything gets hard, and one of the principles in the early days of Future Females that we abided by was consistency. And so hosting our events in Cape Town, we were like, even if 2 people show up, we are going to have the most amazing event. We're going to show up for those 2 people, because they'll tell 2 more people. And also, businesses need trust for people to buy from them. And so we built trust by always being there. Every single month we would show up. And so as someone who has a million ideas and wants to do them all, that is actually quite hard for me. I've realized I hate doing something for a second time. Like, I resent it. I'm like, but what's the next new thing? But that consistency, I think I would attribute it to that.
I love that, and I can so resonate with what you're saying. So I really see how valuable Cerina has been for you in that. Cerina, what has been your one thing?
So much love right now.
Lauren and I met as strangers, really. When we started this business, we were strangers. We were working on the same project, and we had the same vision, and we were like, okay, now we can start this business. But really, we were strangers. We didn't know each other's backgrounds. We didn't know who we really are. How do you fight? How do you spend your weekends? And so when we decided to start a business together, we decided on our values. And people say that you should have values in your company, and people don't always live it. But actually, Lauren and I live ours, because those 5 values are like fundamental to us as strangers. We were like, what are the 5 things that we both believe in and agree on, and that will guide us in our decision making? And I really think that was fundamental. I'm going to, like, Flora often, she would take us on, and she will, like, in some of the big meetings, she will say, but wait, are we living this value? You know? And so even if Lars and I go like, we don't know what to do here, we also go, sometimes we go back and we go like, okay, what does our values guide us to do? So I think...
And I just adding on to that, I think also building a community, you're building a culture outside of your team. We're building a culture for our ambassadors, but also for all of you guys. And you know, some of the things that make me happiest is when we come across people, we automatically connect because you guys probably also share the values that Future Females shares. Community-driven, take action, collaborative, inclusive, give first. Like, they are the things that we were living by anyway, we just hadn't put into those words. And so I think that's also why the brand we've created is strong. And why ambassadors have come to us, and why hopefully you guys are here tonight, because they're also the things that you live by, almost without even realizing.
I absolutely love that, and I think so many entrepreneurs don't define their values. They think that they define their values, but they don't actually take the time to define their values, and that actually creates a compass for you in the most beautiful way. So I love that piece of advice. I am going to ask you another rogue question, and that is, what is the biggest lesson you've learned from failure? Because I know that you guys celebrate failure, and I love that. I love that because without trying and failing, you're never going to succeed. And so many people are so scared of trying because they're scared of failing, but they don't get that without actually trying and without failing, you're never going to actually succeed. Colonel Sanders tried to sell his chicken freaking spice recipe to, I don't know, 110 different people before he sold it. He's been dead for a very long time, okay? And people are still eating that chicken. It is a truth.
That chicken.
So, you know, people fail. You got to keep going. So, what is that for you?
I mean, I was going to say something very unhelpful, because I remember I said probably a year ago now to Cerina, and I was like, I don't think we've ever failed. And she was like, are you kidding me, Lauren? Like, do you not remember all of those times crying, stressing? And I'm like, not really. I'm just focused on the next thing. I can share one. And it wasn't so much failure as just a very difficult time for me. And actually, I was featured in Cosmopolitan magazine, which was like so exciting because I read it as a teenager. And I actually went down to the news agent just down the road on Main Road where we are now. And I went to buy this magazine, and I went to check out with my card, and it got declined for insufficient funds. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am featured in Cosmo like this cool double spread about how inspiring I am as a female entrepreneur, and I can't even buy the fucking magazine. I was like in tears, sitting on the curb, and I was like, Bevan, my fiance, I was like, you need to come and buy me this magazine. And he couldn't understand why I was so upset. He was like, okay. But I think, you know, that wasn't a failure, but it did make me almost refocus. I think the people that know me is like, I love to play and experiment and explore, but in a business where you have a responsibility to your co-founder, to your team, to your community, I guess I realized that I needed to start taking the financial side of the business a lot more seriously. And so I guess that's one of the things that I learned. And now at Future Females, you know, we used to do everything free, but now we really try and charge for our worth because we need to set an example for all of you as well, because you're offering something valuable and it doesn't help anyone when you give it away for free.
So what I really love about that, Lauren, is there's two things actually that I think everyone can take away, and I definitely take away from that story, is the reframing. Looking at yourself and going, oh wow, I've found myself in this position. And what would I change most about this position, and what actions can I take in order to change that so that it doesn't happen again? So I think that's a really great lesson in recovering from a perceived failure, because it wasn't really a failure. It was just a perceived failure. And I think that lots of us go through perceived failures. And so I think that that's a really, really lovely thing. And then another thing that I really take away from that is that you are vulnerable enough to share that with your community so that they get that we all have these perceived failures and we all feel like crying on a sidewalk and wanting somebody to come and rescue us, but you took the action to rescue yourself. And I think that's so important. We only have 5 minutes left, which really kills my heart in so many ways. But before we go, can we just in 1 minute and 1 minute, what is your version of success? How do you define success for yourself? And either one of you can go first.
Okay. Mine is two things, because one is really my purpose. And so I know what my purpose is. I discovered it. It took a long time, but it really is just helping even one other individual. So for me, those stories, when we get a message on Instagram, someone even messaged and said, remember 7 years ago you bought me a free drink in the airport? And I was like, I do, and it was amazing. We had this beautiful conversation. So for me, it's like that connection and impact. And then the second thing is play. I mean, I have a play tattoo on my wrist because this is the most, personally important thing to me. Every day I wake up and I write one thing I'm doing to move the needle in the business and one thing I'm doing purely for fun for myself. So that's me.
I love that. Lovely Cerina, what is yours?
I feel like I'm going to copy Desiree, yeah. But I do believe in it because Lars asked me, what does success look like? And I said, strange, success for me, I always connected to the professional life. I don't go live life and go like, you are happy successfully, or you are stress-free successfully. I go like, success is, for me, always connected to the profession, which maybe it shouldn't be, but and so I guess for me then, professionally, I look at Future Females for a big part of that, right? And it goes to how are we impacting the people that we work with? The big question for us always is it deep? So is it like a tree that's like deep, so deep impact, or is it like broad, right? And a lot of people that we impact, but less, right? So that's something that I always ask. How are we really impacting it? It's a really good question. I'm looking at Sasha there because this is where we work with the business schools in these different countries. Personally, I don't have success because, as I said, I don't live like you happily successful, Cerina. But I do have an idea how I live life, and I actually spoke with you about this on Saturday. Whenever I meet someone, I hope that they will feel worthy in the 5 minutes or the 2 seconds or the hour that I spend with them. That's how I live my life, yeah.
I love both of those things. And I'm so devastated that we have to wrap this up because I really do want to hear what and maybe you guys can post these for us, but what you celebrate yourselves for. But I love that you said that getting that feedback from the community of thank you, you impacted my life. That means so much to you. And Cerina, that's actually part of your core value actually as well, is that getting that feedback. And I know that it's one of mine as well. Whenever somebody says, you've impacted me, thank you, I remember that, you did that, I changed because of something you said or something you shared. It's so valuable. So I'm going to end tonight's show by inviting all of you to compliment each other and to celebrate each other and to celebrate yourselves. So each day, task yourself with at least celebrating yourself once and celebrating somebody else once. And this world will be a much more love-filled place, I think. So thank you for being here this evening. I hope you enjoyed our launch of the Future Females show. It has been an absolute honor being your host. I'm Susanna Kennedy. Thank you to the team for trusting me with this wonderful position and project. And to the Future Females team, thank you. You guys are freaking amazing. I love working with all of you. And to all of our sponsors, thank you, thank you, thank you. This wouldn't be possible without you. So I am going to read them out quickly. Eccentric on Kloof, Mobelli, Sorbet, Pongratz, Cosmetics, Catrice, Essence, Style Rotate, and have I missed anyone?
You missed
Boca
Boca.
Creative Studio. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. And thank you to everyone for watching. See you next time.